welcome into Talking Tactics with Coach Gough. I am Coach Brad Gough, and this is maybe your final episode of Talking Tactics. Certainly your final one for now with my friend, my partner, and my co-host, the one and only Justin Hoyte. Justin, how you doing today here in the flesh?
Fantastic. Great to be back. Great to be in the city. But most importantly, I'm great to actually do a live with you, to be next to you doing the show rather than just over FaceTime and trying to schedule plans with you. It was crazy trying to do that, but it's great to be back and great to be alongside you. As we said, it could be the last one. We're not too sure, probably, but I'm excited to be back, Coach. And like we say, I'm glad that we're able to do this. If it is the final show, we're able to do it face to face.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We've been wanting to do this for a while. Yeah. It's super cool that you're back home, because this is kind of a second home for you, maybe a third or a fourth home.
No,
I don't even know.
Home, I think.
Okay. I know the city loves you. We really do. The whole "you're always open" thing, all of that. How's it been being back in town? Has anybody recognized you in the grocery store, said hey, anything like that you want to talk about?
I've not been grocery shopping, but I go different times because of this weather. I'm kind of stuck indoors, and I've not been out too much. But yeah, I think I've been out now and then, and people have recognised me, which is great. You know, it's amazing that people still recognise who you are after being, playing for the club and then going away and then coming back. It's great to have that recognition. But yeah, just these temperatures, Coach. I don't know. I didn't come for this. I know I'm from England and it's cold, but I didn't expect it to be this cold and this much snow just yet.
It's a low point of our season in terms of temperatures. It's bad. When you go to the stadium, I'm sure people are going to recognize you. Kenny Walker sits up near where I sit sometimes, and I always say hey to him, just like, hey, Kenny, and he just like gives me a nod. That's the kind of thing. Super cool. Hopefully we can catch a game one day together. Tell us a little bit about your new gig. You're coaching. You're apparently spending all hours of your life trying to figure out how to make the next generation of FC Cincinnati youngsters into someday first team players. How's that going?
It's amazing. It's a great transition. It's a very difficult transition, one that I'm still learning. I think I'll learn every day. Probably it'll take me years to not even perfect it. I think you'll learn every day as you do as a player. It took me many years to become a decent enough player to make it professional, but I feel the coaching role, when it came up, the opportunity came up, I couldn't miss it. Reached out to the club. They've been great. Working with the under 13s and under 15s, 14s as well, as an academy coach, assistant coach, and it's been great. It's great. We've got a good group of guys, young kids with a lot of talent, and we've got a good group of coaches. And I think that's the most important thing. We've got a good network, a good group of people that are pulling together, and we're just trying to build the next players for the future. And if whatever happens, they don't make it into Cincinnati, let's see if we can develop good young men and turn them into professionals, or professionals, whatever they do. Some might want to be, might venture away from soccer, but our main goal is to help them reach the top. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, let's see what else we can do for them. And I'm enjoying it, Coach. It's long hours, it's tough, but I'm really, really enjoying it. And I'm glad that I've been able to come back to a city that I would say is my second home, somewhere where I've played, and it's been great. I'm loving every minute of it, and long it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think maybe 5 years, maybe 7 years, see you on that first team coaching staff. That's what it's coming.
I don't know. I'd like to, as a coach, and as you're looking at a playing career, you then finish and you think about coaching, and you obviously want to be a manager one day, but I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about how I can learn from the academy coaches at the minute, the first team coach that's there, the head coach, all the coaching and staff from there, learn my trade, learn as much information as I can, and who knows, one day down the line, if the opportunity does come about, then I would apply for it. But if not, for the time being, you know what, Coach, I'm happy where I am. I'm happy in the academy. I want to learn and develop there for many years, hopefully get one or two players in the first team. I think that's our goal, not just mine, but I think everyone in the academy. And after that, I'm happy how my career ended as Cincinnati. So I don't know now if I was 10 years later, if I was to go back as a coach, to then, things go well and then amazing. But if things go bad, coach, I don't want that, reputation of being.
I hear. Plus, if you're going to go first team, you might want to get somewhere warmer. Maybe
no. I don't think I could have to stay here if I wanted to coach somewhere. But no, I mean, that's long term down the road. But, hopefully I'd love to be a manager one day on the sidelines.
As you're on the pitch with these youngsters and you're coaching them, do you ever hear yourself say something and be like, oh my gosh, that was just Arsene Wenger, just came out of me right there, embodying all, because you've had some fantastic coaches over your career. Do you ever hear yourself and think like, oh, that sounds exactly like them back when I was youngster?
Yeah, and I mean, even some of the way I'm coaching at the minute, I remember how I used to be coached. So I feel I've gone back to that. And I feel the difference here is I have to learn certain phrases and certain terms that the academy use that the players will understand, because what I was used to growing up in the academy and what certain phrases and words we used in England is completely different here in America. So it's like learning the certain phrases, the certain words that the players can understand and relate to. So sometimes I'm saying stuff and the players are looking at me as if saying, hold on a minute. So it's like, okay, this is what it means in how you'll understand it. And yes, we all talk differently because we are from different areas. We grew up from different footballing backgrounds, soccer backgrounds, I should say. So it's all a learning curve, and I guess they're understanding my way of learning, of talking and phrases, and I'm learning, I would say, the Cincinnati way of coaching.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. That combined language is so important. Well, listeners, you heard Justin reference it. It is freezing cold outside, and we warned you all year long to keep things cozy using our show sponsor, Apollo Home. Peace of mind is worth the $29 tune-up special that they have going on, so get our great sponsor on your schedule soon. Before you do that, you can always follow us on social media. I am on Blue Sky, not on X anymore, at FC Cincinnati Tac Talk. Justin is everywhere, at Justin Hoyte 32. And as always, you can follow us at Cincy Soccer Talk, or give us a note in the electronic mail slots, feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. So with all of that, let's get to a season preview. Last year, there was a ton of roster turnover, and we talked about that. We thought that they would take a step back, and they did over the course of a season, but actually they started a lot stronger than we expected. This season, there was another offseason of turnover, but whereas last year there was probably 6 new starters, this year it looks like maybe only 3, depending on how the center backs shake out. So I'm going to run through what I think the starting lineup will be, and then we'll just talk in generalities about whether we see holes in this roster, where we might see them like to add, what is the strength of this group. So we obviously have Roman and net. Then the back line will eventually be left to right, Teenage, Hidebe, Matt Miazga, Miles Robinson. For right now, though, with Miazga hurt, Teenage just coming back from a hamstring, we saw Noah Adnan, who is an FCC2 player, step into the game that just happened last night against Motagua. We saw Elvis Powell fill in on the other side. Eventually, they'll have Nick Haglund back and then Gilberto Flores competing for playing time. Then in kind of the midfield, counting the wing backs, you have left to right. You have Lucas Engel, Obi Wobodo, Pavel Buka, DeAndre Yedlin. It's pretty straightforward. I don't foresee that changing. Then you have the new attacking midfielder, Evander, probably alongside Luca Orashano. He might kind of float more forward as a forward, but I'm calling him a dual 10 here. And then Kevin Denke up top. Justin, when you think about this roster, what are your just initial thoughts as you think about the group as a whole?
I think it's a great roster. I feel that they've added where they've needed to. Last season I felt we needed that goal scorer, which I feel we've got in Denke. He looked pretty sharp in last night's game, scoring a goal, fox in the box. And looking at his highlights, his match highlights and where he's played, he's a goal scorer. And I think that's going to help us massively this season for sure. To retain the likes of Orashano, I think he is unbelievable, he's great. And I feel we've got great strength and depth. And what I like about it is the fact that, okay, we've lost a few players, we've still kept the core group.
Yeah.
And I feel over the course of, as season's gone on, we've kept the core group, and I felt that's helped the group massively. And I feel with this squad, could we see more additions? Maybe. But I feel at the minute we've got a core group that played a lot of games last season together, to now they've got that understanding, now they've got that match togetherness. They've been through a lot last season with a lot of injuries, got players coming back, and I feel the squad is really, really strong again.
Yeah, I think so too. Same. When I look at the roster, I think the biggest thing that I notice is before you could always kind of picture where the attack was going to go. Probably the left side. This is how it's going to work. Here, there is such balance to the squad. It's like with Evander, he's not going to shade to one side of the field so heavily like Lucho Acosta did. You have Luca Orishano as a really good threat. He'll probably drift mostly to the right so he can come in on that left foot, but that balances you there. Both wingbacks are capable of getting up the field, receiving progressive passes, things like that. So there's really a good balance to the roster. When you look at the unit as a whole, in the past we've seen like, the defense is really the strength of this team. To me, it doesn't really look like there's a big strength defensively or offensively. Both units are good. Do you see any spots that seem particularly, I don't want to say weak because that puts it in a negative tone, but like anywhere where you're like, that area of the pitch gives me some question marks?
No, I still feel there's strength in all areas. I feel that we've got players that, if players aren't playing, we've got players that can come in and fill in. I feel we saw that last season. Players were able to do a job with the injuries that we had, and I feel if that was the case this season, I feel that the players who had to play out of position can do the same thing. And I feel we've rotated and kept them certain players just in case that happens. I feel the squad is okay. The squad is okay. We're in good spirits. The team looks strong. The squad looks good. I feel like they had a good pre-season from looking at things. When I was out in Florida, you heard the reports and stuff online, and it looked quite good. And you can see the team togetherness in last night's game. So I feel that the squad is in good strengths, good spirits, and looking forward to the start of the season.
I would say I worry a little bit about defensively the left side with Lucas Engel. Just speed. He's a good defender, but he's no Alvis Powell, DeAndre Yedlin, and against FC Motagua, they had a quick player.
First game as well,
Right, but he also had somebody playing behind him for most of the game, or for at least the first half, that was not used to playing that. Alvis Powell, who had the speed, but not used to playing on the left side, not even really used to playing center back. So I think that could change. So I wouldn't say it's a weak spot, but it's a worry. And then that midfield ball progression. Can Obi Wobodo and Buka do enough to help connect the ball front to back? And against Motagua, it seemed like oftentimes they just skipped that line. You had Miles Robinson like splitting lines straight into Kevin Denke or into the wingbacks pushed past higher than Buka and Obi. And you wonder if teams kind of sit off of them and be like, fine, have the ball, Obi, have the ball, Pavel, if they're going to be able to do it. I think they can, but again, just question marks.
Yeah, even some games, I think Buka goes unnoticed in a lot of games. When you actually sit down and watch the film closely, I think Buka actually does that in majority of the games. Yes, he's not the ball playing midfielder that we get further up as a 10, but I feel in certain situations he's able to do it. And I think the more he plays, I know we played a lot last season, but I think the more they give him trust on the ball in them areas, I think he can do that.
Yeah, and that spoiler alert, when we get to my team awards and my predictions, you're going to hear his name come up again. Justin, we're going to talk about the 2025 group and do some buy or sells with that and finish up with some season predictions. But first, I want to let the listeners know about our other show sponsor, Beyond Exercise, a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury-free. In fact, they help some of our local MLS, MLS Next, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. I know they've helped Justin out in the past, maybe going after some heavy training sessions, jumping in with the lads, get some dry needling or something done at Beyond Exercise.
Especially with my Achilles injury as well before the TST last season, they help for sure.
Yep, so check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. All right, we've had some great fun from time to time doing buy or sells. Yep. So I didn't really give you these beforehand, so I'm just going to throw them at you.
I don't mind
you
that.
just go gut reaction.
Okay, that's good.
And I'll give my reaction too. And if there's anything more to say, we can. So buy or sell, Kevin Denke will be a favorite for the Golden Boot in 2025.
You have to buy that. He has to be. You bring in someone like Evander, you got Orishano. Look at the chances Orishano was able to create last season. He's an out-and-out goal scorer. I think he has to be a candidate for sure. And He has to be one of the ones up there, so it is a buy for me.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy buy just in terms of a favorite.
Yeah,
Will he win it? Maybe not, but this team should put up numbers with that attacking talent.
Yeah, I think so. They got a good attacking base.
Yeah, the only question in my mind about this is 5 games in, if he hasn't scored yet, just because trying to get on the same page with Evander, things like that. Maybe Orshano, we still haven't seen him really come in and play because of the contract and a bit of an injury. So if they start slow, maybe he's not a favorite just because he didn't get off to that hot start. Buy or sell that we will see FCC play in something other than a 3 center back formation. So basically, will we see them now that they have Lucas Engel, who can play left back, and DeAndre Edlin, who can play right back? It's the first time in a while FCC has had that. Will we see them play a 4-back set?
It's a possibility.
Yeah,
I think it's a possibility. I think you have to buy that because of the injuries that the team have had. We've now got an out-and-out left back. We've now got an out-and-out right back who can also play wing backs. I think that gives you options if you're looking at it. You bring in someone like Evander, you can also change the position. You've got Orishano, who's a winger. So I feel that you can potentially, if needed be, change the formation.
Yeah.
I don't think they will, but I've got, I'll buy the fact that you can change the team to a 4 at the back.
Yeah, you 100% can, and that's exciting that possibility
Gives you an
exists.
option, yeah, of course.
And definitely late in the game, we'll probably see those kinds of things if they're chasing a goal.
Of course you can, yeah.
But in terms of like overall, just like from the start, I'm going to sell it. And for what you just said, you said I don't think they will. The game to do that was against FC Motagua last night. They had, Matt Miazga, Nick Haglund still hurt, Teenage Hidebe coming back, so he wasn't going to start. They could have left Alvis Powell on the bench and did, more 2 traditional center backs. Although then you would have had, I guess, Noah Adnan starting as a center back, or maybe Alvis Powell as a true center back. So maybe I'm wrong about that. It will be exciting. So I'm pretty 50-50 on this, but I'm just going to sell mostly because you bought. Buy or sell, Justin. Yuya Kubo will start 50% of the matches in 2025. Now, we talked about
that's tough. That's a lot of games. At 50%.
We talked about our lineup, but with rotation, with injury, he is a jack of all trades. Can play in the midfield, can play up top, can even play on the wing.
You have to buy it because, as we call him, I like to call him Mr. Utility Man.
Yep.
So, you don't wish injury upon anyone. You don't wish bad performances on anyone. There's a lot of games, and I feel that someone like Yuya, he can play in many different positions, and I feel that he is one that can slot in everywhere.
Right.
So I feel that you have to buy it just because I feel that he can play. Mr. Utility Man can play.
Yeah, it's interesting because of that, right? If they rotate 1 or 2 players per match just for health and fitness,
he's the one.
Then he's going to be the first man off the bench in a couple different spots. Yeah, I'm going to sell it. Again, I'm so 50-50. 50% is a lot of matches, and I think that Pat Noonan, I'm hoping that he will try to settle the lineup a little bit more and not rotate as much. Hopefully Yuya Kubo won't have to play wing back. So now you're just talking about defense and midfield. With Brian Tawanunga, he shouldn't have to play defensive center midfield. So now we're just talking about playing as a forward or a 10. And so that's why I'm going to sell. But I think it'll be close. Like maybe if he doesn't hit 50, he gets to like 40 or so. How about this though? Buy or sell that Yuya will play half of the minutes that he does play at one position. Will he be that guy you said, moving all around, or will he get to nail down a spot this year?
No, I saw that. I don't think he would settle down one spot. Do you know why? Because he's so good at so many different positions, I feel that, he doesn't have a set position. You even look when he came, what position was he? And I feel even though he come as a certain position, he never really played that position on a regular basis when he first signed. And after that, he's just played everywhere, and he's so good at playing every position and understands the role of every position. I have to sell it.
Yeah. I am also going to sell this. If you said, will he start the matches that he starts, will it mostly be at one position? I would say yes, because I think when he starts, they'll try to get him up top more. But in that late game scenario, depending on if they're chasing a game or locking it down, he'll come in up top to press if they're locking it down. If they're chasing a game, he might come in as a midfielder to try to really push that issue. Maybe even as a wing back, like we said, to really get forward over there on the right-hand side. So that's interesting. Buy or sell that Corey Baird will see significant minutes as a wingback. Now, it's weird because he's a forward, but last year, we saw him play left wingback at the end of the season. Hard sell.
I'll sell it. I'll sell that because you still got Yuya Kubo who can play there.
Yeah.
You still got Orishano who can play there.
Brett Housey
can play there. So I don't think so. I think that would be if they're all out, then yeah, maybe possibly you can put him there. But I don't think so. He needs to be forward and causing havoc in the forward line and causing havoc for defenses running in behind and stuff like that and getting goals.
Yeah,
I need him wing back.
I wrote these in a time when we weren't sure that Lucas Engel was going to be here as the left back yet. So I'm going to sell as well. Buy or sell that Nick Hagglund will not only return to health, but get back to form so well that he will be actually pushing for a starting spot. Basically, is Nick Hagglund a pure backup on this roster? Or do you think he'll compete for starting minutes?
I think he'll compete for starting minutes. He's got that determination in him. He's coming back from a bad injury. But knowing Nick and playing with him and understanding his mindset of having a similar mindset, he's going to want to come back and prove himself and want to be a regular starter in this team. He loves the club, loves the city, so you know it's within him to do it, and I'm sure that's his main goal is to get back on the field, get back to full health, and want to get that starting position.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm going to buy. I'm not sure he will earn that starting position, but I think he will be in consideration because of that determination, that effort, that leadership. And with the people coming in and out of, we talked about rotation, Miles Robinson probably won't be around all season because he'll have international duty, things like that. Last buy or sell, Evander will be an MVP of the league in 2025. Not of the FCC.
The candidate or actual MVP?
I have on my paper candidate, but I changed it on the fly because it's like, of course he'll be a candidate. He finished third in MVP voting last year. Will he win MVP this year? You have guys like...
I hope he does. My only concern is obviously we've got that player who won it last year, you know?
Yeah. He's going to have something to say about that?
Yeah. Messi won it last year.
Yeah.
And, I watched him yesterday and he started off great again.
Yeah.
And, as it is, and I've said it before, I feel that it's hard to now replace Messi for MVP just because of his numbers and what he's able to do. And, he's the best player in the world,
Yeah.
And he's playing in the MLS. So for Evander to win it, I think he has to put up crazy numbers, which is in him because he was a candidate last season. So, now he's going to be more settled in Cincinnati. He's going to play regular. He's going to be a focal point of the team. Can he possibly win it? Yes. Personally, do I think he will over, someone like Messi, Suarez, and, maybe there's other two players in the league that could potentially win it? I don't know. I don't think so. I would sell it, but I hope he does win it just to show how good
you're right.
he is.
Probably either way, it was an easy question. He will definitely be a candidate, I would think, unless something goes wrong. And he probably won't win it because of Messi. So I'm going to just add one in then. Buy or sell, Justin Hoyte finds a way to get down into the tunnel when Miami visits so he can...
No. I don't want to see Messi. I'm finished with that. I'm done with Messi. I've seen you already.
I think when you've played for the Arsenal, I think somebody like Lionel Messi doesn't carry the same amount of hype. It's like, he's a great player, best player in the world.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm all right.
Yeah. Awesome.
I was more excited to see Ochocinco, I think.
That's what I love to hear that. Justin, we talked about this show, maybe not continuing it. I want to thank the listeners in case this is our last show. Thanks so much for being here through 186 episodes that we've done this. Whoa. Thanks for downloading or watching this wherever you're getting it. Maybe I might do something with Talking Tactics, even if Justin can't come back. If the club says, we want you to focus on your coaching, not do media appearances, instead of doing Talking Tactics alone, because that gets a little repetitive, I might try to just pick one tactical idea about certain matches, maybe go bi-weekly instead of every week, something like that. You can get in touch with me to let me know what your thoughts are on that on socials or at feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. But I did want to take a moment to say thanks to all of you, and thank you for listening and downloading, and thanks for spreading the word when you've done that in the past. Justin, let's get to some preseason predictions, some more straightforward. Okay. Team MVP. So last year, you predicted it would be Lucho, and you were dead right. I predicted it would be, this Baupenza. I don't even know who that is.
Someone that left midway through the season, I think.
I think you won this one. I think Lucho probably was it. This year, who do you think will be the team MVP?
For me, there's the three forwards. I would say you got Denki, you got Orishano, and you've obviously got Evander. I would say they are my three main candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who do I pick out of them three? It's up in the air.
Yeah. Which is awesome, let's say, because in the past it's like I picked not Lucho because I was stretching. It was going to be Lucho if it was anybody.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. But now the fact that we've got a possibility of three forwards who could really do good things in the MLS and with the team this year, it's a tough one. Do I go with someone who scores goals, great set piece taker, scores goals, creates goals, skillful, or do I go for an out-and-out goal scorer who can bring players in, who's a fox in the box, I call him, or Orishano, who scores some unbelievable
Probably
goals.
going to have some bangers, yeah.
I'm going to have to go with, I like my number 10s, and I go for Evander just because he's a creative player.
Yeah.
He scores goals, he scores amazing free kicks,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him, and he's great to watch. And I think he's going to be a great link-up player for the team, and I would have to say him. But I would like to say Denki, but I have to say Evander because I think I like, the Brazilian flair of him and the way he plays. It's great to watch.
It'll be interesting to see who takes PKs between Kevin and Evander.
Maybe they'll take turns, hopefully.
Maybe. I agree with you. I think it'll be Evander. I wouldn't be surprised if he had 35, 36 goal contributions.
Last season was crazy, so this year.
What about who will be the most improved player? This is where I will take a turn where I get to win, because last year you said Bupenza, and I said terrible. Ian Murphy. You could maybe make an argument for Murphy, although probably, if we're really being honest, Yuya Kubo was the answer. Who this year will be your most improved player? I'm going to start because I think it's going to be Luca Orishano, actually. It sounds weird to say improve, but if you actually look at the course of the season and you see, like, he had all these highs, like he had over 10 goals, some of them bangers. When you start to look at like how many fallow periods he had where he didn't score, I think this year he could be way more consistent, playing in a more advanced role all year, linking up with Evander and with Kevin. I think he could be a guy that not only score goals but chips in with some assists, and also is a constant threat, as opposed to like every once in a while when he gets the ball on his left foot, you sit up. Might be like every time he touches the ball. So I'm going to say Luca Orishano. Who do you think might be the most improved player for 2025?
I'll say Pavel Guka. Why I'll say that is because I think he's going to be more of a that link-up play that we've been missing. I feel it's a bit of last season. I think we're going to see him more attacking more. Like we saw him last night score a goal.
Two goals.
Two goals. So I feel that we're going to see more and more of him as time goes on in this season. And I feel that, like I said, a lot of his work goes unseen, but I feel that he's going to make real headlines this year.
Right. I think that's a pretty good shout. I would have said Buka, other than I had him for another category that we had actually said that we wouldn't talk about. So I'm just going to do I put him for breakout player. I'm not going to ask you a breakout player unless you want to give a shout out for one. I picked him as breakout as opposed to most improved because I think he had this stuff in his toolkit last year. So I think him breaking out is him taking on that responsibility of Lucho's not there anymore. So now there's going to be ball progression that I'm going to have to do. Lucho's not there anymore. So now I'm going to be that guy arriving late in the box and looking for those cutbacks, as opposed to always trying to base my run out of staying out of Lucho's way. So I picked him as a breakout player. I really, really think big things for him, to the point where he might be the hipster's pick for team MVP at the end of the year, meaning he wouldn't actually win it because he's not going to have like the flashy goals and stuff, but he's going to be so key to what this team does.
He's going to be a key player for sure.
Yeah. So this was fun. The last one, the one everybody wants to know, predicted finish for this year. And if you want to predict any trophies or silverware, you can do that. But where do you think SCC will finish at the end of the year?
You know I always predict title. I always predict that we're winning it all. I have to predict it. I can't not predict it.
It's the player in you.
You have to put it.
That's the goal every year.
Always go with that. You have to go with that mindset that you're going to win. Realistically, I feel that the team has got the ability to go a long way this year. I hope they win it. I feel they're going to be there or thereabouts this year. Top 3. The other teams have strengthened in the attacking third and in defensive sides of the game, but I feel we've got players coming back from injury that will be able to deal with that. I would love to think we would win the MLS Cup. I feel this year is going to be tougher than any other year.
Yeah.
Just because of the players the other teams have brought in, the money that has been spent in the MLS has been crazy, and the talent that they've brought in and brought back. I feel it's going to be very tough. But my prediction is they're going to be top 3 in the East. Top 3, hopefully number 1. But I'm going to say top 3. And if that's the case, I feel they're going to have enough experience and understanding to get to the final. And if they get to the final, coach, they're going to win it.
Yeah, I love that. I love to hear that. I do think we might see a season where FC Cincinnati doesn't finish as high as we're used to seeing them in the table, but then actually does better in the tournament because they're a team that can defend when needed. They can attack. The only thing I worry about table finish is just this early part of the season is how long does it take? And like you said, so many good teams. Atlanta has really reloaded. Of course, you have Miami. Columbus lost Cucho, but they still have Wilfred Nancy. And without Akucho, without any stars in Montreal, he put together a 65-point season. You have Chicago, who's starting to look like they could be a little dangerous. I think the New York Red Bulls are going to be better this year, depending on how their new DP forward settles in, because he's like 35 or 36 or something, which, is not old, but...
But in a way, coach, if you're thinking about it, we're looking at it, even if we don't finish in the top 3 and the team finishes in the playoff spot, which is what we want. No matter where you finish. Yes, you want to win the Supporters' Shield or you want to win the East. But at the end of the day, if you get into the playoffs, I feel that the team, like you said, has the ability now that they've been there and done it. They've been there. They've had the heartache of playing in the Eastern playoffs and lost. So I feel going through that experience with the players that they've got in 1 year, 2 years, now they're going into the 3rd year of having that experience. I feel like you say they've got that now ability to be like, right, we've been here, we've done it, now we know what it takes. So I feel like, look, if we don't even finish in the top 3, as long as we finish in the playoffs, if we don't get a home run, we can still make it.
I agree. And, just to cover my bases so I can talk out of both sides of my mouth, I said I wouldn't be surprised if we saw finished a little lower in the table, but then had a better chance in the playoffs.
That's fair enough,
I'm actually going to predict that we win the Supporters' Shield.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And the reason why is when you look at all the other teams that are going to be competing for that silverware, the Supporters' Shield, when you look at Miami, when you look at Atlanta, when you look out in the West and you see the Galaxy, Minnesota, LAFC, Seattle, all of those teams also, probably outside of Seattle, have pretty big holes where you think, but their defense isn't very good, or what are they going to do if this one player gets hurt? With LAFC, or with LA Galaxy, that has already happened. They already lost 2 of their DPs to injury, at least early in the season. FC Cincinnati is not only so strong back to front, but they're deep enough to handle an injury here or there. Obviously, if the main guy goes out, like a Kevin Denke or an Evander, that might change things, but I think that this is going to be a legit Supporters' Shield contending team. Seattle would be the other team that I think might be able to pip us to that, but we shall see. Justin, that's it for this episode of Talking Tactics with Coach Gough. Maybe all episodes, we'll see. I do want to tell everybody really quick, I am going to be investing a lot of energy in being on the Monday night show with Cincinnati Soccer Talk. So that is a Monday night show that goes live at 9 p.m. You can find it on YouTube or the Cincinnati Soccer Talk social channels. I'm going to bring my tactical analysis there, as opposed to having this show being like a competing show with that show where they're both breaking the games down. So that will be where you get my full game thoughts. Tune into that show, download, go over and subscribe to the Cincinnati Soccer Talk podcast over on their feed. Do not delete this episode or this feed out of your podcast catcher, because I might decide to come back on here and do little snippets or like 20-minute shows talking about one tactic or one player. We might be able to talk Justin in, even if he can't do it full time, to come back every now and again and give us a lay of the land in the academy or what he's seeing from the first team. So make sure you stay in touch with both of us on the socials. Stay subscribed to this feed. And other than that, a big hearty thanks again. And I want to end by turning it over to Justin, since this might be the last time we do like a full-time pod like this. So Justin, the floor is yours.
No, I just want to say, I would say firstly, thanks to all the listeners for all the questions from the time I come on the show, for downloading the episodes, from watching the episodes, and when it was on YouTube, people are watching it. I think it's fantastic. Even getting that recognition to listen, and I hope I've given an insight into what it takes to be a player. What I would say, what fans don't see, don't understand. Sometimes you watch the game and you're just looking at it, but hopefully we've given them a full insight on what it takes to become a player, what it's like in a locker room. Listen to some of my silly stories that I've given.
I love it.
Insight to just tactical things that they might not have seen, that now they look at the game, maybe they look at the game differently now. I think that's great that you've been able to do that, and I've been able to help with that. And just the back and forth we've had, Coach, I think it's been fantastic. And lastly, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. I mean, even when Mike was doing it and you guys asked me to do it, I think it was fantastic that, you even thought about me asking. And to even be associated with the club in any way possible, I wanted that opportunity. So I watched all the games, and for you to then call me and ask me, do you want to come on the show? It was something that I was never going to refuse.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that this could be the last one because I felt that, you've given me that connection still with the club.
Yeah.
When I wasn't part of the club, in a way that I was part of the club, but I wasn't, if you know what I mean. Like, I still felt that involved in the club because, I was doing the podcast, I was watching the games, I was staying up late because I wanted that connection. Leaving the way I did was heartbreaking. I didn't want to leave, but that's soccer.
Yep.
So I feel that you gave me that platform now to talk about the club in another way from a fan point of view. Now I'm going into the academy, it's going to be completely different. But I just have to thank you for that opportunity, for that realization of, I can go on a podcast and talk about football, something I love doing. Sometimes I went on, rambled a bit like I am now.
No, it's great. It's great.
I think it's fantastic, and you've given me that platform. You've given me that confidence to talk about the game, to talk about my knowledge of the game, to talk about everything FC Cincinnati. It's just been fantastic, and I can't thank you enough for that. And even when I'm at home, I'm saying to the kids, shh, I've got to do the podcast. It's FC Cincinnati, I'm talking about the team. And everyone's like, oh, are you doing the podcast today? Yeah, I'm doing the podcast, yeah. So it's just great that I've been able to just talk about the club that I would say helped me fall in love with football again. And, when I left, it was heartbreaking, like I say, but to then come on this podcast, to then talk about the club that I loved again, sometimes I'm lost for words for it, and when I'm not able to do the show and I've had to text you or call you and say, look, Coach, I can't do it for this day, it's hard. It was hard for me to say it. I've missed it, so I'll probably miss it. I will tune in and listen, but I'm just grateful that we are able, if this is the last episode, we are able to do it face to face, because we spoke about it for so long, and spoke about me coming to the games and being able to sit down with you and have a coffee, or go for lunch, or go to watch a game together. I think that's going to be important. So I think now I'm in the city, I think we should do that. So for me, it's a thank you to all the fans, but most importantly, thank you to you for even having me on this show, and being part of this, talking tactics. And for me, I don't know what the fans think, and people that have been putting the mailbag questions in, people that have been watching online, and people that have wrote in, no matter what time it's been or watched whenever. I don't think you should stop. I feel that, yes, it's hard for you because of the timing and stuff, Coach, but I feel what you've built, yes, I feel you can bring it to another show, but I feel what you've built, you can continue to do. And, for me, it would be sad for you to stop, but if you are able to carry on, whichever way you do, I think you should carry on. I don't think you should stop doing what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that, Justin. I will say from my perspective, and I speak for the fans too, because they've told me, I've asked, what should I do in terms of the show without Justin if he's not able to come back? And to a person, they all say, like, man, I don't know, because Justin has added so much to this show. For me, it is easy for me to sit as a coach and diagram tactically, this is what should happen on this play. But your ability to be like, yeah, but when you're out there on the field and this is happening or you're worried about this. Yeah, okay, yeah. So that player's perspective has been invaluable. It's added a credibility to this podcast that, you know, hopefully I will now, having that perspective, be able to continue a little bit, but nothing to the effect that you are. So thanks again. Thanks from all of us here at Talking Tactics and in the Cincinnati world. Thanks for coming back to the club and being part of it. And can't wait to see what happens with your career going forward.
Thank you so much, sir.
And that's it. So last time for now, saying soccer is a privilege. So whether watching, coaching, or playing, don't forget to smile.